Commander Sarah Chen stood motionless on the bridge of the ESS Phantom, her eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing something that shouldn't exist. The stealth vessel's quantum sensors had detected what appeared to be massive energy signatures emanating from a dying star system. Energy signatures that suggested someone was harvesting the power of a collapsing star. "Analysis complete, Commander," Lieutenant Park whispered, maintaining the bridge's tense atmosphere. Even though they were running silent with their quantum stealth systems engaged, the crew had developed a habit of speaking in hushed tones. Whatever they're using, it's at least level 4 on the Kardashev scale. They're not just harvesting the star's energy. They're stabilizing its decay. Sarah's fingers traced the edge of her command console, feeling the subtle vibrations of the Phantom's dark space engines. Humanity had only achieved reliable fusion power 30 years ago, and here they were, watching an alien civilization manipulate stellar physics like children playing with building blocks. "Show me their population centers," she ordered, keeping her voice steady. The holographic display shifted, revealing dozens of massive structures orbiting the dying star. Each one housed millions, if not billions, of beings. The scale was almost incomprehensible. "They call themselves the Asteri," Science Officer Dr. Elena Rodriguez reported, scrolling through the data their passive sensors had collected. "From what we can decrypt of their public communications, they've been a spacefaring civilization for over 50,000 years. She paused, her dark eyes widening. "Commander, you need to see this." The main display shifted to show what appeared to be an educational broadcast. The Asteri were tall, crystalline beings that seemed to shimmer with internal light. The translation software worked quickly, converting their harmonic language into English. "And so we continue our sacred duty," the crystalline being announced, its form pulsing with colors. "The younger races must be monitored and contained. Their primitive violence and resource consumption cannot be allowed to threaten the greater harmony of the galaxy." The inspection fleets have identified 17 developing civilizations in need of oversight. Sarah felt her blood run cold. "Elena, when was this broadcast?" "6 hours ago, Commander. Earth is within their designated inspection zone." The bridge fell silent. Humanity had hidden its true technological progress for a reason. After detecting the first alien signals 50 years ago, Earth's governments had made a unanimous decision. They would advance in secret. While other young civilizations broadcast their achievements to the cosmos, humanity had developed quantum stealth, dark space engines, and zero-point energy behind a carefully maintained veil of radio signals that suggested they were barely reaching for the moon. "They're harvesting stars," Tactical Officer James O'Neill muttered, "but they're afraid of younger races. Something doesn't add up." Sarah studied the data flowing across her screens. The Asteri were powerful, yes, but their technology was predictable. They had followed a linear path of development over their 50,000 years, building bigger, more powerful versions of the same basic technologies. There was little evidence of the quantum leaps and paradigm shifts that had marked humanity's secret advancement. "Look at their weapons," she said quietly. "All energy-based, all operating on similar principles to their star-harvesting technology. Efficient, powerful, but they never developed dark energy weapons," James finished. "No quantum torpedoes, no consciousness transfer technology, no dark space drives. They went up, but they never went sideways." Sarah nodded. This was why humanity had chosen secrecy. In just a century of hidden development, they had explored paths of science that these ancient races had never conceived of. The Asteri's power came from scale and refinement, not innovation. "Commander," Communications Officer Yuki Tanaka called out, her voice tense. "I'm detecting a directive being broadcast through their network. The inspection fleet. They're moving up their schedule. They'll reach Sol system in less than a month." Sarah straightened in her command chair. They had expected to have at least a year to prepare Earth for inspection. A month wasn't nearly enough time to hide their more advanced installations, to bury the quantum shipyards and consciousness backup facilities deep enough to avoid detection. "Plot a course back to Earth," she ordered. "Maximum dark space speed. We need to warn the Defense Council." She paused, looking at the display of the Adversaries' stellar engineering project one last time. "And send all our sensor data on their technology. If they're going to inspect us, we need to know exactly what they're capable of detecting." As the Phantom slipped into dark space, Sarah wondered if humanity's greatest challenge would not be appearing weak enough to pass inspection. The Adversaries were ancient and powerful, yes, but they were also stagnant, bound by their own assumptions about how technology should develop. "Prepare a full report," she told her crew. "Focus on their blind spots, the technologies they've never thought to develop. If we have to hide our capabilities, we need to know exactly where they won't think to look." The stealth ship accelerated through dark space, leaving no trace of its presence. Behind them, the Adversaries continued their work on the dying star, unaware that they had just been observed by a civilization they considered primitive. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes, the best place to hide wasn't in the shadows, but in plain sight, behind assumptions of weakness. They had a month to prepare Earth for inspection. A month to hide centuries of secret advancement behind a facade of primitive development. But as Sarah reviewed the sensor data, she couldn't help but wonder, what would happen if the Adversaries discovered the truth? What would these ancient, powerful, but stagnant beings do if they realized that a primitive race had developed technologies they had never even imagined? She hoped they wouldn't have to find out. The Defense Council chamber, buried 2 kilometers beneath the Himalayas, erupted into chaos as Commander Chen finished her report. The holographic representatives of Earth's unified government spoke over each other, their voices echoing through the vast underground space. 1 month. Director Patel's hologram flickered with static. "It's impossible. The Ganymede quantum shipyards alone will take 3 months to fully conceal." Sarah stood at attention, her dress uniform feeling unusually stiff. After 3 years on the Phantom, any clothing that wasn't a stealth suit felt wrong. "The Adversaries' sensor technology operates on principles we can counter," she explained. "They rely heavily on electromagnetic and gravimetric detection. They have no concept of quantum state analysis or consciousness field detection." "But their power output is astronomical," General Zhang interrupted, his weathered face tight with concern. "They harvest dying stars. Commander, what happens if they decide to scan our system with that level of energy?" Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, her scientific advisor's insignia glowing softly. "That's actually our advantage, sir. The Adversaries are like a person with a spotlight in a dark room. They can illuminate anything they look at directly, but their own brightness blinds them to subtle details. They've never developed the kind of fine-scale detection methods we use because they've never needed to." The chamber grew quiet as Admiral Hassan's hologram raised a hand. The head of Earth's hidden fleet spoke with careful precision. "Show us their blind spots again, Commander. All of them." Sarah nodded to Elena, who activated their sensor data from the Phantom. The chamber filled with a detailed analysis of Adversaries technology. "They have no understanding of dark energy manipulation," Sarah explained. "Their computers are purely quantum-based. They never developed consciousness transfer technology or biological computing. Most importantly, they don't scan for zero-point energy signatures because they don't believe stable zero-point energy extraction is possible. So we'd hide our advanced tech in plain sight," Admiral Hassan mused. "Disguise our quantum shipyards as primitive fusion facilities. Mask our consciousness backup centers as data storage warehouses. But the fleet we can't hide," Sarah admitted. "Not all of it. But we can make it look primitive. The Phantom's stealth systems prove that we can mask dark space signatures as simple fusion emissions. We can make our most advanced ships look like they're running on technology that's barely ahead of chemical rockets." Director Patel's hologram leaned forward. "Project Shadowfall," she said quietly. "We activate it now." The chamber erupted again, but this time with urgent purpose rather than panic. Project Shadowfall had been humanity's contingency plan for first contact, a comprehensive strategy to hide their true capabilities behind a carefully constructed facade of primitive development. "We'll need every stealth ship we have," Admiral Hassan declared. "Commander Chen, your Phantom will coordinate the fleet's transformation. Dr. Rodriguez, work with the Quantum Computing Division to develop masking algorithms. We need to make our advanced technology look crude enough to pass inspection." Sarah felt a subtle vibration through her boots. The quantum shipyards were already beginning their transformation. Somewhere above them, humanity's most advanced installations were being disguised as primitive facilities. The greatest technological masquerade in history had begun. "There's something else," Elena said, her voice cutting through the chamber's activity. "The Adversaries' educational broadcasts. They don't just monitor primitive civilizations. They actively prevent their advancement if they develop too quickly or in unexpected directions." The implications hung heavy in the air. If the Adversaries discovered humanity's true level of technology, they wouldn't just be surprised. They would see it as a threat to their established order. "How do they prevent advancement?" General Zhang asked. "They call it harmonious adjustment," Elena replied, her voice tight. "They use their stellar engineering technology to create controlled solar flares, targeting planetary infrastructure. They can effectively reset a civilization's technological progress without destroying the species itself." Sarah watched the council members' faces as they processed this information. Humanity had hidden their progress out of caution. Now it seemed that caution had been fully justified. "Then we have no choice," Admiral Hassan declared. "Project Shadowfall must succeed. Every advanced installation, every quantum ship, every piece of technology beyond their expectations must be hidden or disguised. We have 1 month to make humanity appear primitive enough to avoid their attention." "And if we fail?" Director Patel asked. Sarah thought of the dying star she had watched the Adversaries manipulate. "If we fail, they'll try to reset our progress to what they consider a safe level. But they've never encountered a civilization that developed like we did. They don't know what we're truly capable of." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "And they don't know about the contingency measures we've hidden in the dark matter layer of every human colony." The council members nodded grimly. Humanity had prepared for this possibility, burying quantum-encrypted backup facilities in subspace, ready to restore their civilization even if the worst happened. The Adversaries might be able to destroy their visible infrastructure, but humanity's greatest advances were hidden in ways the ancient civilization couldn't even conceive of. 1 month, Admiral Hassan said finally. 1 month to hide centuries of progress. Let's make it count. As the council session ended and the holograms faded, Sarah felt the weight of their task settling onto her shoulders. They had to convince a star-harvesting civilization that humanity was barely capable of reaching Mars. It would be the performance of their lives, and the stakes couldn't be higher. "Commander," Elena said softly as they left the chamber, "do you think we can really fool them?" Sarah thought of the Adversaries' linear, predictable development, their blind spots to whole branches of physics that humanity had discovered. "Yes," she said, "because sometimes the best way to hide isn't to match their expectations, but to fall so far below them that they don't look too closely. Above them, humanity's greatest achievements were being hidden behind masks of primitive technology. The race against time had begun. The Adversaries inspection fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their crystalline ships refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. From her position on the transformed bridge of the ESS Prometheus, Sarah watched the display with carefully controlled anxiety. The once advanced warship had been disguised as a primitive exploration vessel, its quantum core masked to appear as a basic fusion reactor. "They're scanning the outer system," Elena reported, now playing the role of a simple sensor operator. The advanced quantum displays had been replaced with crude holographic screens. "Their energy output is significant." Sarah nodded, maintaining the facade of an officer impressed by technology she'd never seen before. In truth, the Phantom had recorded far more detailed scans of Asteri technology, but that ship and its crew were now hidden in a dark space pocket near Venus, invisible to even the most powerful conventional scans. "First contact protocols," she ordered, her voice steady. "Let's show them humanity's best technology." The Prometheus's engines flared to life, deliberately inefficient fusion reactions creating a visible plasma trail. They had practiced this approach countless times, the art of appearing primitive but promising, like a species on the verge of true spacefaring capability. The lead Asteri vessel dwarfed the Prometheus, its crystalline structure pulsing with internal light. A communication beam touched their ship, and the translator systems activated. "Developing species vessel." The harmonic voice resonated through the bridge. "This is Observer First Light-Through Crystal of the Asteri Inspection Fleet. Your presence has been noted, and your technological level will be evaluated. Prepare for detailed scanning." Sarah straightened in her command chair. This was the moment of truth. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Prometheus. We are honored by your presence and welcome your evaluation." The scanner beams swept through the ship, analyzing everything. But just as Elena had predicted, they were looking for specific types of technology, the kind the Asteri themselves used. Their powerful but narrowly focused scans passed right through the quantum-encrypted data crystals disguised as simple computer cores, blind to the consciousness backup systems, hidden as medical equipment. "Commander," Lieutenant Park called out, genuine alarm in his voice. "Long-range sensors are detecting a massive solar flare building up in an unusual pattern." Sarah's heart raced. This wasn't part of the plan. The Asteri weren't supposed to begin any harmonious adjustments until after their inspection. Unless multiple ships emerging from the flare's corona, Elena reported. "Unknown configuration, but their energy signatures are similar to Asteri technology." The crystalline ship's colors shifted to deep crimson. "Vashari vessels detected," Observer First Light announced, their harmonic voice carrying new frequencies of concern. "Rogue elements of our species who believe developing races should be eliminated rather than guided. Commander Chen, remove your primitive vessel from the combat zone immediately." Sarah watched as dozens of ships emerged from the solar storm, their crystalline structures darker and more angular than the Asteri vessels. This was quickly becoming a nightmare scenario. An advanced civil war was about to break out in Earth's solar system. "We cannot abandon you," Sarah replied, playing the role of a naive but noble lesser species. "Our world is behind us. We will assist however we can." "Your assistance would be futile," First Light responded. "Your technology is far too primitive to." They were cut off as the first Vashari attack struck, dark energy beams slicing through space. The Asteri inspection fleet moved to intercept, their own energy weapons blazing, but Sarah could see the tactical situation clearly. The Vashari had caught them off guard, using the solar flare as cover. "Commander," Elena whispered, her hand hovering over the quantum controls hidden beneath their primitive interface. "If that battle reaches Earth's orbit." Sarah understood the implications. Even a stray shot from their weapons could devastate Earth's surface. They had hoped to maintain their deception throughout the inspection, but now— "New solar event detected," Park announced suddenly. "Massive energy spike from the far side of the sun." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Admiral Hassan had anticipated something like this. Not this exact scenario, but the possibility that they would need a distraction. The quantum devices hidden in the solar observation platforms were activating, using dark energy to trigger a precisely controlled solar flare. The battle paused as both Asteri factions turned their attention to the new phenomenon. Sarah watched their sensor beams shift, probing the unexpected solar activity. It was just enough of a distraction. "All ships," she subvocalized, the quantum communicator hidden in her neural implant broadcasting to the hidden human fleet. "Execute Protocol Omega Shadow. Make it look good." Across the solar system, carefully hidden human ships began to move, They would reveal some of their technology, enough to help drive back the Vashari, but in ways that would appear to be lucky accidents and primitive weapons having unexpected effects against advanced shields. The real battle was just beginning, but it wasn't the one the Asteri could see. It was the battle to save Earth while maintaining humanity's greatest deception, all while making their inevitable victory look like fortunate chance rather than carefully planned strategy. As the Prometheus moved to join the battle, Sarah caught Elena's eye. They both knew that after today, nothing would be the same. The only question was whether humanity could save both their world and their secrets. The space around them lit up with crystalline weapons fire, and Sarah gave the order that would change everything. All hands, battle stations. Let's show them what primitive humans can do. The solar system erupted into chaos as the Vashari attack intensified. Sarah watched from the Prometheus's bridge as the Asteri inspection fleet's formation buckled under the assault. The attackers had positioned themselves perfectly, using the solar flare's radiation to mask their approach vectors. Vashari vessels are launching some kind of crystalline projectiles, Elena reported, her fingers dancing across the deliberately simplified control interface. They're targeting Earth directly. Sarah made a split-second decision. Launch our experimental interceptor drones, she ordered. Let's see how our primitive attempts at automated defense perform. The drones launched from Prometheus's hold, supposedly simple fusion-powered defense units. In reality, each contained a quantum core capable of calculating space-time trajectories that would appear to be lucky coincidences to Asteri sensors. Remarkable. Observer First Light's voice carried genuine surprise as the human drones intersected with the Vashari weapons. Your primitive guidance systems should not be capable of such precision. Sometimes desperation breeds innovation. Sarah replied carefully, watching as her crew continued their elaborate performance of being a less advanced species rising to an impossible challenge. The battle shifted as the Vashari adjusted their tactics, their ships moving into a complex three-dimensional pattern that the Asteri struggled to counter. Sarah recognized the formation. It would allow them to create a resonance field capable of triggering a chain reaction in Earth's magnetosphere. "Commander," Park called out, real fear in his voice. "Their energy readings, if they complete that formation." "I see it," Sarah said quietly. They were running out of options. Maintaining their technological masquerade might cost them their planet. She opened a secure quantum channel to Admiral Hassan's hidden command center. "Sir, requesting permission to execute Protocol Omega Prime." There was a moment of tense silence before the Admiral's response came through her neural implant. "Granted, Commander. Show them just enough to survive. Make it look like innovation born of necessity." Sarah straightened in her command chair. "All hands," she announced. "Prepare for emergency protocol activation. Engineering, initiate fusion core overload sequence." Helena shot her a knowing look. The fake fusion core overload would mask the activation of their real quantum weapon systems. It was a gamble, but one they had prepared for. "Commander Chen," First Light's harmonic voice carried urgency. "Your ship's power readings are becoming dangerously unstable. You must withdraw." "No," Sarah replied, letting determination fill her voice. "Our world is at stake. If this is our last stand, we'll make it count." The Prometheus's hull began to glow as the fake fusion containment field failed, a carefully orchestrated light show hiding the activation of their quantum shield matrix. The Vashari paused their attack momentarily, their sensors detecting the building energy signature. "Now," Sarah ordered. The Prometheus's apparent fusion containment breach erupted into a brilliant display of energy, mostly harmless light and radiation, but hiding within it were precisely targeted quantum torpedoes. The weapons struck the Vashari formation at exactly the right points to disrupt their resonance field. "Impossible," one of the Vashari commanders broadcast, their harmonic voice filled with confusion. "Their primitive fusion technology cannot." They were cut off as more human ships emerged from their hiding places, each appearing to suffer similar containment failures, that somehow perfectly countered the Vashari attacks. To the advanced alien sensors, it would appear that humanity's desperate last stand was having unexpectedly effective results through sheer chance and the strange interaction of primitive technology with advanced shields. But Observer First Light was no fool. Sarah could see the crystalline commander's colors shifting through patterns of deep thought as they watched the battle unfold. The coincidences were too perfect, the failures too precise in their effects. Commander Chen, First Light transmitted on a private channel. Your species is far more interesting than initial scans suggested. Sarah chose her words carefully. When faced with extinction, even primitive species can surprise themselves. The battle reached its climax as the combined effect of humanity's failing ships and the adversaries' legitimate weapons drove the Vashari back. The dark crystalline ships retreated into hyperspace, leaving behind a solar system filled with questions. As the immediate danger passed, Sarah could feel the weight of First Light's scrutiny. The Asteri observer had seen enough to know something wasn't quite what it seemed, but not enough to prove anything concrete. Your species requires further study, First Light announced finally. Such innovative use of primitive technology is unprecedented in our records. Sarah nodded, maintaining her facade of a commander who had just survived against impossible odds through luck and determination. We look forward to learning from your wisdom, she replied diplomatically. But as the Asteri inspection fleet regrouped, Sarah knew that humanity's careful deception had developed cracks. They had revealed more than intended, even if they had disguised it as primitive innovation. The question now was whether they could maintain their masquerade long enough to prepare for what would come next. Because one thing was certain, the Asteri would be watching Earth much more closely now. And somewhere out in the darkness of space, the Vashari were undoubtedly analyzing every moment of the battle, trying to understand how a supposedly primitive species had managed to thwart their attack. The real challenge was just beginning. The Defense Council chamber was eerily quiet as Sarah finished her report on the battle and its aftermath. The holograms of Earth's leaders flickered in the underground facility, their faces reflecting the weight of recent events. Observer First Light has requested a detailed analysis of our primitive fusion containment systems, Sarah concluded. They're particularly interested in how our failures produced such precise effects against Vashari shields. Admiral Hassan's hologram leaned forward. And what do your instincts tell you, Commander? How much does First Light truly suspect? Sarah exchanged a glance with Elena before responding. They know we're hiding something. The question is whether they understand the full scope of what we're concealing. The chamber's quantum displays showed the Asteri inspection fleet, still in orbit around Earth. Their crystalline ships had remained for the past week, conducting increasingly detailed scans of human installations. Each scan was more focused than the last, like someone searching for a secret door they knew must exist, but couldn't quite locate. Director Patel's hologram spoke up. Perhaps it's time we considered a controlled revelation. Show them enough to satisfy their curiosity, while keeping our most advanced technologies hidden. That could be dangerous, General Zhang countered. The educational broadcasts were clear. They adjust civilizations that develop too quickly or in unexpected directions. But they've never encountered a species like us, Elena interjected, stepping forward. I've been analyzing their complete historical database since they shared it. In 50,000 years, they've never found a civilization that developed along our path, hiding their progress, exploring alternative theories of physics, advancing in ways the Asteri never considered possible. Sarah nodded. The Asteri built upward, always reaching for more power, more energy, bigger structures. We built inward, exploring quantum mechanics, consciousness transfer, dark energy manipulation. We're not just at different levels of advancement, we're advancing in completely different directions. A new hologram appeared in the chamber. Observer First Light had requested an audience. After a moment of silent communication between council members, Admiral Hassan nodded. The crystalline being's form shimmered into existence, colors flowing through their structure in complex patterns. Honored representatives of Earth. First light began, their harmonic voice filling the chamber. We have completed our initial evaluation of your species. Sarah held her breath, noticing similar tension in the council members' postures. Your development is unusual, First Light continued. Your apparent technological level conflicts with observed capabilities. This contradiction required deep analysis. The beam's colors shifted to a new pattern. We have reached a conclusion that challenges 50,000 years of Asteri understanding. And what conclusion is that, observer? Admiral Hassan asked carefully. That perhaps our method of measuring advancement is fundamentally flawed. First Light's form pulsed with new colors. We measure progress by power output, by the ability to harness stellar energies. Yet your species, they paused, colors swirling. Your species has found paths we never considered, ways of manipulating reality that do not require vast energies. Sarah felt the shift in the chamber's atmosphere. This wasn't an accusation. It was a revelation.